I would say if I were to describe the experience, and I would say that it's an experience, it's not a passive film to watch, but I would say that it's introspective, it's existential, and it's something that it's going to challenge you. It's a challenging experience. I don't think there was a coherent style. There was a lot of avant-garde is the one thing that comes to mind when I think of style. It was experimental. I saw a real arc with the music. I saw chapters with the music. With the design. I felt that it not only was thematically appropriate, but it fit with kind of my interpretation of the nature versus nurture journey that I felt while watching it. In that there was a great deal of exploring, of trying to understand, and then it goes into a very tense kind of tempo, and then eventually comes out on the other side with a sort of Hinduistic sound where you feel like you've almost been reborn, or enlightened, or you feel like you've come out on the other side of a really scary roller coaster. Even it's not a horror film per se, but you feel like you've gone through something really challenging, and then you come out on the other side of it, and you feel refreshed, you feel anew, and so in that sense, I felt that there was a distinct tonal arc to it, certainly.
Could you straighten that lampshade?
Oh, sure. Well, no, it's leaned against the wall. That's why. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. When I saw A Brief History of Time, I immediately saw this as a story of evolution in one way or another, in terms of our thought process, in terms of the way the universe works in general. And so that was, again, because you had that book early on in the film with a character reading it, I sort of, it was another moment where I kind of sat forward and I said, okay, there's going to be a point to my watching this film. With the opening shot, I was delighted because it was an unexpected camera move, and you know that I knew that you were aboard a train because we saw a train track running across, the frame, and another train passing by, and then there was a great, there was a great plane flying overhead. Whether that was planned or not, who's to say? Because there was a lot of motion going on. It was fitting to the title. It's called In Motion, and there was so much motion happening. First with, there's the train, and then there was the plane, and then the camera starts moving, and so it was just delightful to see all of that happening at once. When I heard the poem and when I saw the blades of grass moving, I felt that this was going to be a story about nature versus nurture, about evolution in some way. I didn't know what direction it was going to take me in my thinking on nature versus nurture, on evolution, but that's kind of what I prepared myself for. When I saw the sequence with the pickup truck, I didn't understand it while I was watching it. I wanted to figure out exactly what I should be feeling or thinking during that sequence. But once it transitioned away and I got further into the film, and then we returned to the pickup truck, I saw the truck as a relic of the past. I don't know what year the truck was, but it's in the middle of a field. I think there were a couple of trees around it from what I remember, but I saw it because of the way the grass was grown around it. I saw it almost seeded into the earth in the same way that the grass was. And then I think I remember it being sepia toned. The first time we cut from the man discovering the truck to the actual truck, I believe the first time we see it full framed is in a sepia tone, and then we cut back to the man, and then he approaches the truck, and it's normally it's saturated in normal colors, and so that made me kind of think that it's meant to represent the past in some way. And then he opens the truck door, and there are a bunch of glasses laid out on the seat, and when he started trying them on, I saw them kind of as windows and as perspective on just life in general, of how we kind of view the world around us through different lenses, and those lenses can be, based on our upbringing or based on just what we see around us, and how we, if we interpret them passively or if we engage with them in some way. It's really almost windows of interpretation, I guess. Well, because it's something I've never seen before. It's why are there so many glasses in the truck, and he's trying them all on, and what can that possibly? Well, that's the thing, because so many things can be happy accidents, or maybe you don't really know going in what it's going to be or what it's going to mean, but it's interesting in the moment. The great overhead shot that reveals the dam. It's a very Kubrickian shot, because it's straight on from above. And we're tracking across the landscape, the rocks, and the river or the lake, and then we reach a dam, and then it's just pure, clean water. We sweep from pure nature with the rocks peeking up out of the water, and then reveal this man-made construction, this dam, and then we sweep beyond the dam into the dam's purpose in holding all of this water. We no longer see the landscape kind of peeking up out of it. It's just clean, and it's a very clean way of showing our intended influence on nature in this one regard. Yeah, when we go to New York, it's a lot of imagery, and it's very quick. And it's modern life. It's peak evolution. It's where we are now. It's our society. We have no attention span the way we did before. Everything needs to be immediate, and we have the split screen. We have we see action happening at different times, different parts of the city, but it's all happening at once for us. And for me, it's kind of where we are now. It does match something visual, and I'll tell you exactly what I thought about it, because I immediately interpreted it as something when it happened. But when the sound drops out on that great shot of the American flag, where we're shooting very low, and we have the flag flapping in the corner, and we have the planes flying overhead, I want to say there are two contrails, there's the moon, and then finally a plane enters frame. And the moment that the music cuts out, the plane disappears behind the flag. Probably the most searing sequence in this film, the closest it comes to being a horror film, is the Lamb of God sequence, the abduction and the conversion therapy, the horrors of conversion therapy, which is a horror as an idea and a practice. It's probably, when I describe this as a challenging film, as a film that isn't a passive viewing experience, that's probably the sequence that comes immediately to mind when I tell people that. the unfortunate thing with conversion therapy, and that I think is, and that I think can be interpreted from the way that sequence is put together. The unfortunate thing is that there are going to be victims. There have been victims, but lives are going to be destroyed, if not lost. Our theme of nature versus nurture, which I think is the most challenging existential conflict for the human race, probably second only to life versus death. We've kind of wanted to be able to exert control over those things that we've tried to understand or believe that we understand. And so I think, and this goes back to the grass poem of, nature wanting to grow. You have to let me grow. And if you try to push back against that, if you try to control it, you're going to lose. And in the way that sequence was put together, and the way it was shot, the way it was edited, and the music, the music cut through. It was a very searing sequence visually, but then the music absolutely slices into you, and it's almost scarring. And there's a great transition where we're on the statue of Jesus Christ, and it's pulling back, and it fades to the torso of the victim of conversion therapy. And for me, in that transition, obviously he wasn't meant to be emblematic of a Messiah character, but it made me think of sacrifices that are going to have to be made for us to progress as a species, for us to evolve. And it made me think about all the people whose lives are being destroyed, and who are losing their lives through conversion therapy, through being forced to try to fight against nature, which is a losing fight. When we see in film fully blown out backgrounds with our characters, kind of haloed, and it's very angelic, we think of them as idyllic, as heaven. And you can look at the sequence as the character who's going through the conversion therapy as dying, and then through that he enters a place. He comes out of the bathtub, which can, I guess, be emblematic of rebirth in some way, rising up out of water. And then he has the water tulip. No, the water lily. It's a water lily, right? So he has
Calla lily.
Oh, a calla lily. So he has a calla lily, and then the other guy has a calla lily, and that could be kind of seen as a piece of nature that you can pluck, and it's heaven for him. It's where he wants to be. It's in his most, I guess, idyllic place, really. From an intellectual place, I didn't have much of a response to the guitar sequence, but I had an emotional one. I felt that was coming towards the end of it was the beginning of the Enlightenment, the end of the darker journey in the film, and it was a moment. I think it was the beginning of the kind of Hinduistic design in the score, and it was a moment of harmony. We hold on the guitar for quite a while, with the time lapse of the light sweeping over it, and it was almost euphoric when the colors are beautiful and enhanced, and we're in the car and we're driving through the streets of Los Angeles, the city of dreams, of achievement, personal and on a human level. Look what we can do. We can build all these things, and we can, we can create stories that better other people's lives, or that reach other lives and make them dream. Our dreams can become other people's dreams, to dream even larger than what our imagination is capable of. And this is where we are, and we're going through this beautiful place, and it's almost peak evolution in our philosophy, in our way of thinking. The train is going in the opposite direction of where the winds are blowing, where the winds are carrying the clouds, and at a different speed than the clouds are traveling. So I don't think that punctuation is, that shot should kind of tell you that we don't know yet whether what we're creating is for the better of man or for the detriment of man. And we can only try to further understand the way the world, the way the universe works around us to go forward. We know we can't control it. We know we can't push back against it. But we can try to understand it. We can try to accept it. And in accepting it, we can go forward.
Thank you very much, Charlie, for your thoughts.
Thank you. No, I think I owe thanks to you for what you've created. It's a great film, a challenging film, but I think it's very satisfying in putting yourself through that challenge.